Welcome to Jim Rohn Treasures, where the timeless wisdom of Jim Rohn blends into your very real journey in this modern life. Today, I want to tell you a story that perhaps you've experienced at some point in your life. One afternoon, I met a young man sitting quietly at the back of the hall after a talk. His eyes were red from exhaustion. He told me, "Sir, I work hard. I work overtime almost every day. My salary increases steadily, yet at the end of the month, nothing is left. I don't understand why people who work less seem to live more comfortably than I do." I looked at him and suddenly remembered myself at 25 when I believed that working more would help me escape poverty, when I thought high income meant freedom. But life doesn't work that way. The truth is, many people are living just like you, working hard, sacrificing time, worrying about every expense, yet still feeling like they're running on a wheel that never stops. And even worse, many believe the problem is not enough money. But you know, there are people who make 3 times more than you, yet they are not one bit freer. I used to believe freedom came from numbers. Now I understand. Freedom comes from the person you become. Not the money in your wallet, but the strength within your mind. Not the income, but the principles you live by. There are things that, if you had known earlier, you wouldn't have lived so tired. There are mistakes that, if corrected sooner, wouldn't have let your precious years slip away in worry. And there are principles that, once understood correctly, you will never look at money the same way again. Today, I want to walk with you through a journey. A journey that not only changes the way you use money, but the way you see yourself. And I believe the end of this video may open a perspective you've never considered before. And to begin that journey, we must start in the right place, the root of every financial decision. Your inner strength. Let's step into the first principle. Principle 1, the law of financial inner strength. One evening, after a long talk, I saw a young man in his early 20s standing quietly in the hallway, as if hesitating between approaching or leaving. When everyone had left the hall, he finally walked toward me. His eyes were so tired, I could see the weight of long, stressful days behind them. He said, "Sir, my income has increased. I have some savings. But somehow at the end of the month, nothing is left. I'm not wasteful. I truly don't know where I'm going wrong." I smiled, not because it was funny, but because I've heard that sentence countless times in my life. And more importantly, I was once the person asking that same question. Back then, I believed that if I just earned more, everything would get better. I thought that being poor was due to lack of money, and being rich meant having lots of it. But then time taught me a much harder truth. Money doesn't change your life. It only reveals who you already are. I once knew a man who was very successful at work. His income increased every year, but every year he became more anxious. He worked hard, but his mind was always unsettled. He earned a lot, but saved very little. Not because he was wasteful, but because he lacked one important thing, something very few people are ever taught: financial inner strength. It is the ability to stand firm before money instead of being led by it. The ability to control your emotions the moment money enters your hands. The ability to look deeply into yourself and understand what you truly need. Imagine you are a cup. Money is the water. If the bottom of the cup is leaking, no matter how much you pour in, the water still runs out. Finances work the same way. Many people think they are poor because their income is low, but in reality, they are poor because their cup has too many holes. Lack of awareness, lack of self-respect, lack of emotional control, lack of habits, lack of belief in themselves. These holes let money slip away without them knowing why. It's not money's fault, nor is it the job's fault. It's an internal matter. One day, I asked a friend a very simple question. When you get extra money, what is the first thing that appears in your heart? Peace or pressure to spend? He was silent, just like many others. The truth is, money only amplifies what is already inside you. If you carry fear inside, money will amplify the fear. If you carry scarcity, money will make you want to compensate endlessly. If you carry doubt, you will always feel not enough. And I used to be like that. I used to spend money on things I didn't need, just to fill a void in my soul. I spent to feel worthy. I bought things to show off, to be acknowledged, to feel like I wasn't falling behind. But in reality, it was simply because I had not learned how to stand strong within myself. Financial inner strength has nothing to do with how much money you earn. It has everything to do with what you think when you have money, how you feel when you lose money, how you react when you see others wealthier than you, how you face the insecurity in your own heart. The more I observed, the more I understood. Money is not a math problem. Money is an inner problem. A person with strong inner strength, even starting with $10, will see the path. A person with weak inner strength, even with $10,000, will get lost. I've met people who earn just enough to live, yet they are peaceful, progressing, and have clear plans. I've also met people who earn 5 times more, yet are always stressed, unsteady, standing on sinking sand. The difference is not income. The difference is the foundation within. You can't build a tall building on a weak foundation. You also can't build financial freedom without strong inner strength. Money is the part above the ground. Inner strength is the part below the ground. Everything sustainable begins with what no one can see. Maybe this is the first time you've heard someone say this. Financial freedom does not begin in the wallet. It begins with the truth you dare to face. When was the last time you reviewed your emotions when spending money? When was the last time you confronted your financial fears? When was the last time you asked yourself, am I spending from need or to fill a void? If you don't remember, it's okay. Today is the day to begin again. Because once you change from within, your wallet will follow. Money always finds those with enough inner strength to lead it. And once I understood this, every financial decision afterward became clearer. Inner strength is the foundation. But this foundation only becomes truly solid when you can do one more thing: identify your emotions around money, something very few people talk about, yet determines 70% of our financial behavior. Principle 2, recognizing your financial emotions. I once met a woman who lived very frugally. She recorded every expense carefully, considered every item she spent on, and almost never bought anything for herself. But strangely, even though she was very disciplined, her life was always tense and heavy. One day when I gently asked, "When you spend money, what are you most afraid of?" she burst into tears. It wasn't because she was out of money. It wasn't because she had spent wrongly. It was because deep down, she always carried a very old fear. The fear of lack, the fear of going back to the hard days of her childhood, the fear of having to ask someone else for help. She said, "Jim, I'm not afraid of spending. I'm afraid of feeling poor one more time." And then I realized something I would repeat to people for years to come. We don't spend money for the item. We spend money to deal with a feeling. Some people spend because they're afraid of missing out. Some people spend because they don't want to look inferior. Some people spend to soothe sadness. Some people spend to feel worthy. And some people don't dare to spend because they're afraid of falling back into old memories of poverty. Money is not complicated. Emotions are what make everything a mess. I remember a period in my life when every time I had more income, I felt uneasy. Sounds strange, doesn't it? People are usually happy when they make more money. But me, I felt like I had to spend something, had to do something, had to prove something. Back then, I didn't understand why. Now looking back, I know. I was using money to fill my own lack of confidence. I was afraid of being ordinary. So I bought things that made me seem like more. But the things I bought were never enough, because the emotion inside me was never truly seen. We don't chase money. We chase the feeling we think money will bring. Peace, confidence, being seen, being loved, not being left behind, not being looked down on. Take a look back at yourself. The last time you spent a large amount of money, what was the feeling right before you hit pay? Excitement, doubt, relief, or trying to forget something? That is what determines your financial future, not the number. A friend of mine once spent almost all his money just to buy luxury brands every month. Not because he loved fashion, not because he really needed them, but because inside him was a feeling of not being good enough. He thought that wearing something expensive would cover that fear. But as I often say, money cannot heal emotions. Money only makes those emotions more visible. When you're happy, money makes you happier. When you're insecure, money makes you even more insecure. When you fear lack, money makes you feel still not enough. When you lack self-respect, money becomes the way you try to prove yourself. Money is just a mirror, and a mirror never knows how to lie. I once met another man. His income was quite average, but every time he got paid, he felt guilty. He was afraid to spend because he thought, I don't deserve to enjoy this. He grew up in a family where every dollar came from sweat and struggle. That feeling of not daring to spend didn't come from his wallet, it came from his memories. And memories, if not recognized, will control your entire financial life. When I understood that, I started sitting down each night and asking myself one question. Today, did I spend money because of a need or because of a feeling? I didn't judge. I just recognized. And recognition is the first step to becoming free. Because once you see your true emotion, you will no longer be controlled by it. You will choose by reason, not by reflex. You will use money as a tool, not as pain relief. You will stand tall instead of living in constant flight from your own memories. You want financial freedom? Start by looking directly at what you've been avoiding. Not the numbers, not the bank account, but the emotion hiding behind every time you open your wallet. And when you are brave enough to say, I know why I spend the way I do, that is when the journey truly begins. Recognizing emotions opens the door, but to step through that door, you need something even deeper. Financial self-respect, the foundation that shapes all of your decisions. Principle 3, financial self-respect. I once knew a man whom everyone thought was very successful. Nice car, a new phone every year, elegant clothes. He spent quite freely, and his friends often assumed he was rich. But one night, when it was just the two of us, he sighed and said, Jim, the truth is, I don't feel good enough. I spend like this, so no one sees my lack of confidence. I went silent for a few seconds, not because I was surprised, but because I had once stood exactly where he was. When I was young, I also bought things not because I needed them, but because I thought they would make me a more valuable person. And I realized money doesn't expose you to others. Money exposes you to yourself. We think financial behavior is shaped by logic, but the truth is, 70% comes from how we feel about our own worth. A person with low financial self-respect will always spend to fill some void within. The void of wanting to prove themselves, the void of inferiority, the void of fear of being looked down on, the void of feeling unworthy. Low self-respect makes you spend more than you need, or not dare to spend anything on yourself. Both extremes are not freedom. I once asked an office worker, what keeps you from investing in yourself? She lowered her head and whispered, I don't think I deserve anything better. See, a person can be capable, hardworking, yet because of low self-respect, remain stuck in a smaller version of themselves. Financial self-respect is not about how much money you have, but about how worthy you believe you are of a good life. Let me share an image I always remember. A dry, cracked piece of land cannot hold water. You can pour hundreds of liters of water into it. It still sinks and disappears. Not because there isn't enough water, but because the land cannot hold it. Likewise, when you don't believe you deserve, you won't keep money no matter how much your income grows. You spend because you don't believe you deserve to keep. You give to be loved, not to truly give. You shop to forget the emptiness. You invest, but aren't patient because you fear you're not good enough. You save but don't dare live, thinking, I don't deserve more comfort. Low self-respect makes you live outwardly, not inwardly. And when that happens, your wallet becomes a way to seek validation instead of a tool to build your future. But when you raise your financial self-respect, everything changes. You don't buy anymore, you choose. You don't spend to be seen, but to become better. You don't save out of fear, but for freedom. You don't force yourself to appear strong, but live truthfully to your values. Financial self-respect is the root of maturity with money, because you will never rise above the level of worth you believe you deserve. Even if opportunities appear, you'll stand outside. Even if money comes, you'll let it slip away. Even if someone gives you a chance, you'll feel not enough. I once met a young man with great potential. But every time he was close to success, he sabotaged himself. Not because he was weak, but because inside him was a familiar voice. You don't deserve this. A small voice, but one that can destroy an entire financial life. To build lasting wealth, you must rebuild that voice. One day, I asked myself, why am I living as if I only deserve small things? That question opened a big door. I began confronting memories, old teachings, invisible fears. And as I healed them, my financial behavior changed. I spent less, but with higher quality. I invested more because I believed I was smart enough to learn. I saved consistently not from fear, but from vision. Financial self-respect is the key that unlocks freedom. Without it, you will always feel like you're just trying to survive. With it, you begin living like someone designing their own life. And when you stand strong from within, you no longer run away. You no longer need to prove anything. You no longer fear scarcity. You fix the soil inside. When the soil is good, the water stays. And then I realized self-respect is the root. But to truly break the unconscious cycle of poverty, we must confront something deeper. The old belief silently pulling us down. Principle 4, breaking the subconscious poverty loop. I once knew a very intelligent young man. He learned fast, worked well, and opportunities came to him much more often than to his peers. But strangely, every time he was about to move one step forward, he would unconsciously pull himself one step back. When he was offered a promotion, he refused. When a high-return investment opportunity came, he backed out. When he started to save a decent amount of money, he spent it all on things that weren't truly necessary. One evening, he sat down and told me, "Sir, I don't understand why I keep ruining everything right when things are about to get better. I don't want to be poor, but I also don't dare to be rich." I looked at him, and in him I saw the story of many people. Not poor because of lack of money, but poor because inside there is a familiar voice constantly whispering, "You don't deserve it." That voice isn't loud. It isn't aggressive. It just quietly repeats itself for years until you start to believe it's the truth. I call that the subconscious poverty loop, a hidden program running in your mind formed from old childhood memories, heavy, harsh teachings, years of scarcity, past failures that were never healed, fears of being mocked, moments when you felt not good enough. No one teaches us this. You can earn money with your hands, but you only keep money with your inner beliefs. I once met a young woman who spent everything every time her income increased, not because she loved spending, but because she carried a deep fear inside, the fear that I can't hold on to it. So she let everything go before the disappointment could show up. Another person was the opposite. He didn't dare spend anything, not even a little on himself. He grew up with the constant yelling, "Money is hard to earn, don't waste it." And for life, he carried this belief. I'm not allowed to live comfortably. The poverty loop takes many forms. Sometimes it's self-doubt. Sometimes it's fear of success. Sometimes it's guilt when you have money. Sometimes it's the habit of self-sabotage, right, when life starts to get better. All of it comes from one thing. You still don't believe you deserve a better life. Let me share an image I always carry with me. A seed, no matter how strong, will never grow if its owner keeps pulling it out of the ground every time it sprouts. When you're about to get better but pull yourself back, you are pulling your own seed out. And many people do that without even realizing it. One day, I asked that young man, when was the first time in your life you heard the words, "You're not good enough"? He was silent for a long time. Then tears began to fall. Not because of money, but because of memory. That memory, if not faced, becomes the shadow that drags your entire financial life down to the ground. We cannot build wealth on a foundation of fear. We also cannot walk into the future with the beliefs of the past. To break the poverty loop, you must do the hardest thing of all. Face the voice that has been following you for so long. Try asking yourself these 4 questions very slowly. 1, am I afraid of success because I'm afraid of responsibility? 2, am I spending money to soothe an old wound? 3, am I rejecting opportunities because I think I'm not good enough? 4, am I living according to my own dream or according to someone else's fear? These aren't financial questions. They are identity questions. You must see the poor version of yourself in your subconscious, so you know when it's the one in control. And once you see it, the loop starts to crack. Because awareness is the first step to freedom. A friend of mine once said, "Jim, people aren't afraid of hunger. People are afraid of change." And that's true. The poverty loop clings to familiarity. Breaking it takes courage. The courage to say, "I deserve to live better, and I will learn how to become that person." When you truly believe you deserve more, every financial behavior changes accordingly. You dare to accept opportunities. You dare to keep money. You dare to invest. You dare to say no to the things that drain your wallet. You dare to step out of the past to create a different present. The poverty loop doesn't disappear overnight, but it cracks gradually with every small decision you make from a new belief. And one day, you realize you are no longer living under invisible influences. You are living with intention, awareness, and a healthy belief. And when you break this loop, you will need a new foundation of action to build a more solid financial life. That is exactly what I want to lead you to in the next principle, where tiny micro habits can change your entire future. Principle 5, micro design. 2-minute habits that enrich your life. Many years ago, I used to think that to change my life, I had to do something big. Start a big project, make a bold investment, work twice or 3 times as hard as others. But then I witnessed something that completely changed my perspective. An ordinary man with modest income whose life became so much better after a few years that people assumed it was just luck. One evening I asked him, "What's your secret? What did you do differently?" He smiled and replied, "I didn't do anything big, Jim. I just fixed small things." And then he told me something very simple. Every night before bed, he spent 2 minutes reviewing 3 things. What he spent that day, what made him spend that money, what he could do better tomorrow. Just 2 minutes. But those 2 minutes taught him to reflect on himself every day. Those 2 minutes helped him correct small misalignments before they turned into big problems. Those 2 minutes made him more aware of his money, emotions, and habits. And I understood something important. Real change doesn't lie in big decisions, but in small actions repeated long enough. Look at a stream of water slipping through rock. It's not strong, it's not rushing, but it's persistent enough to smooth down a massive stone, not by force, by consistency. Finances work the same way. It's not the strongest person who wins, but the most persistent. It's not the smartest person who becomes wealthy, but the one who sustains the smallest habits. I've met very intelligent people whose finances were a mess because they did everything by emotion. They saved well for 1 week, then spent twice as much the next. They set big goals, but quit halfway because the results felt too slow. They didn't fail because they were weak. They failed because they had no micro guides. You don't build financial freedom with willpower. You build it with habits so small you can't fail at them. Let me share a few micro habits that changed my life. 2 minutes reviewing your spending, not to blame yourself, but to understand yourself. Not to stare at numbers, but to look at the emotions behind them. 2 minutes of breathing before buying something. When emotions settle, you can tell the difference between a need and a reflex. 2 minutes transferring a small amount to your future fund. It doesn't have to be much, but it nourishes something important. The identity of someone who sets money aside for the future. 2 minutes, writing down what you're grateful for regarding money today. When you're grateful, you stop fighting money. You start cooperating with it. These tiny things seem insignificant, but like drops of water hitting the same spot every day, they form a puddle. The puddle becomes a stream. The stream becomes a river, and the river can reshape an entire field. I remember something I once told my students. You don't fail because of one big wrong decision. You failed because of small wrong choices repeated. And it's those same small choices corrected that will change your entire life. A person can't suddenly start saving 20% of their income, but they can start with 2%, then 3%, then 5%, then more. As their financial inner strength grows, a person can't master investing overnight, but they can spend 2 minutes a day reading a small passage. After a year, they'll know more than 90% of the people around them. A person cannot instantly become disciplined, but they can do one small thing well each day. When you do the small thing right, you build identity. When you have identity, big actions will naturally follow. No small habit is meaningless, because small habits don't just change results. They change the person you become. And when you become someone different, money will stay with you in a different way. I know you want to change your life. I know you want less worry. I know you want to feel lighter around money. Start with the smallest thing. Don't start with the mountain. Start with a grain of dust. Because financial life, just like spiritual life, is built from tiny details you think don't matter. And when the small things are put in the right place, you will need a system to keep everything from collapsing when life gets stormy. That system we will build in Principle 6. Principle 6, giving money a role, turning every dollar into a soldier with a mission. There was a time in my life when I kept asking myself, why am I earning more but not doing better? I worked hard, my income kept increasing, but my bank account always felt like a big open barrel where anyone passing by could reach in and grab a bit. Not because I was reckless, but because every dollar I earned had no place it truly belonged. One afternoon, I met an older farmer. He wasn't highly educated, didn't know much about finance, but his life was very stable. No debt, neat spending, a warm family. I asked him, how are you able to manage your money so well? He smiled, pointed at the chickens in his yard, and said something I'll never forget. Every chicken of mine has a job. Any chicken without a job, I don't keep. I was stunned. A rustic sentence carrying a profound financial philosophy. Money is just like that flock of chickens. If you don't give it a job, it will wreck the coop. If you don't direct it somewhere, it will run all over the place. If you don't teach it to multiply, it will eat you out. That day, I realized my problem wasn't income. It was the chaos in my cash flow. Money came and went with no structure at all. I spent based on emotions, situations, whatever came up during the day, which meant I wasn't leading my money. I was chasing it. That's when I created a concept for myself that I later taught many others, the 5-layer defense army. This is not financial allocation in the dry way you may have heard. This is a system that helps you lead money, protect it, and grow it without being pulled around by daily emotions. Picture it this way. Your life is like a city. Money is the soldiers. You must divide them into 5 squads each with a clear mission. Layer 1, essential soldiers, stable living foundation. This is the force that guards the city. They take care of what keeps you alive without anxiety. Not to live luxuriously, but to live steadily. When this squad is fully staffed, you're not afraid of the end of the month, you're not scrambling, you're not straining. Layer 2, defense soldiers, safety, emergency. These are the soldiers you hope you never have to use. But when the time comes and they're not there, the whole city collapses. This layer helps you sleep well, because the truly free person is not the wealthiest, but the one least haunted by fear. Layer 3, elite soldiers, learning, growth. This is the force that makes you stronger every day. Skills, knowledge, mindset. I once said, you grow 1 part, your money grows 10 parts. Invest in yourself, it's the only army that will never betray you. Layer 4, expansion soldiers, growth, investment. These are the soldiers who go out and bring back new resources. They are your future flow. They don't need to be many, but they must be consistent. A small stream flowing long enough will become a big river. Layer 5, value soldiers, giving circulation. This is the army that makes your city warmer and more beautiful. You don't give to prove you're good. You give to keep your heart from becoming hardened. Money is like water. It stays clear when it flows. It gets murky when it stands still. When I applied the 5-layer army, everything became clear. I no longer spent by emotion. I no longer used money to heal sadness. I no longer needed to pretend to be rich. I didn't worry about what might happen next month, because every dollar I earned had a job to do, and when money has a job, it no longer sweeps you away. You are the one leading, not the one being dragged. You are the ruler of the city, not the person running around in chaos. One day, I told that former student of mine, you're not poor because you lack money. You're poor because your money has no organization. Once you assign a role to every dollar, the flow of your life changes. Money begins to make money. Money begins to protect you. Money begins to serve the future instead of destroying the present. And when this army runs smoothly, you'll need to build a defense system, something that keeps the city standing firm through every unexpected storm of life. Principle 7, the 4-layer protection system, building a financial foundation that cannot collapse. One morning, I met a man in his 40s. He had worked hard for nearly 20 years, had a stable income, and a peaceful family. But just one event, his company downsizing staff, nearly broke him. He told me through tears, "Jim, it turns out my life was so fragile. I thought I'd done everything right until I fell once and couldn't get back up." I looked at him and felt that pain very clearly. Not the pain of losing a job, but the pain of realizing he had no protection at all. Many of us live like that, standing on a bridge that sways with just one strong gust of wind. Good income, but no foundation. Hard work, but no backup. All-out effort, but no safety net in life. And I understood this. Financial freedom isn't just about earning a lot. Financial freedom is about not collapsing when life changes direction. Back then, I decided to build myself a 4-level tower, what I later called the 4-layer financial protection system. A simple system, but strong enough to keep you standing no matter what life throws at you. Imagine financial stability as a house. If you only have a roof, it's not enough. If you only have walls, still not enough. You need a foundation, pillars, structure, and protective layers against life's storm. Layer 1, stable living foundation. Essential stability. This is the first layer, the one you must build before dreaming of anything else. I once told a group of young students, don't talk about freedom if you're still scared of the electricity bill. Stable living includes the expenses that keep you standing. Food, housing, utilities, health, transportation, all the things that keep you alive without panic. When this foundation is solid, you can breathe. And when you can breathe, you can see further. Layer 2, safety cushion, emergency cushion. This is the layer many people skip until they have to pay the price. One day the job disappears. One day health declines. One day something happens in the family. These things don't ask if you're ready. They simply happen. The safety cushion keeps you from collapsing over a temporary setback. It might be 2 months of expenses, or 3 months, or more when you're able. The important thing isn't the exact number, but that you know you have a cushion to fall on without shattering. A person with a safety cushion walks with more confidence. A person without it lives with a small but constant fear. Layer 3, growth layer. This is the layer that creates your future. Think of it this way. Layer 1 keeps you alive. Layer 2 keeps you from breaking. Layer 3 helps you grow. This layer includes the money that moves you toward a better version of yourself. Learning new skills, upgrading your mindset, improving your abilities, seizing opportunities when they appear, investing in training, understanding, and mastering yourself. An interesting thing is, wealthy people strengthen this layer as much as they can, while those with less often cut this layer first when times get tough. But I believe this. Investing in yourself is never an expense. It's a seed. Sow long enough, and you'll see a harvest. Layer 4, wealth layer. This is the highest layer, the one that makes your life more expansive. You don't have to start big. What matters is start. This is where money begins to work for you. Long-term investments, income-generating assets, stable cash flow, small but consistent contributions, smart choices based on knowledge and patience. This layer is only strong when the 3 below it are solid. If not, you'll invest in fear, withdraw in panic, and lose in confusion. The wealthy don't get rich fast. They get rich securely. They get rich steadily. They get rich because they know prosperity is built on a foundation, not on hope. When all 4 layers work together, you become someone who doesn't fall easily. I once told a student, you may not be rich tomorrow, but you can build a life that never collapses. And that is true freedom. Not the nice car, not the big house, but the ability to stand firm through the storms that every life will eventually face. Once you have a system, you live differently. You don't panic when something happens. You don't tremble when you temporarily lose income. You don't break when things go off track. You know you have 4 layers keeping you upright. And from that stability, you can begin building a mature relationship with money, not just through numbers, but through daily awareness. Principle 8, financial awareness, seeing money exactly as it is. Many years ago, I met a very wealthy man. Truly wealthy, large assets, lots of real estate, a flourishing business. But when we sat down to talk in private, he looked at me with tired eyes and said, "Jim, I have everything, but I don't feel at peace. I always feel lacking time, lacking joy, lacking a sense of fulfillment." I stayed silent for a moment, then asked, "Are you lacking money or lacking awareness?" He lowered his head, and I knew he understood what I meant. Many people chase money hoping it will fix every feeling inside them, but money doesn't have that ability. Money can't cure emptiness. It can't cure competitiveness. It can't cure the fear of comparison. It can't cure low self-esteem. Money only makes those things bigger. And then I realized, you don't need more money to be rich. You need more awareness to stop being poor. One evening, I walked into the bathroom and saw my 10-year-old son counting the coins he had saved by himself. He lined them up and sat there smiling so innocently. I asked, "What do these coins give you?" He replied, "They make me happy, not because of what they can buy, but because they're mine." His answer startled me. A child understood the nature of money better than adults. To my son, money wasn't for showing off, not for proving himself, not for racing anyone. Money was simply a small freedom, the joy of autonomy, the feeling that he could create something on his own. On the other hand, many adults have their view of money clouded by fogged-up lenses. The lens of fear, the lens of a scarce past, the lens of comparison, the lens of social roles, the lens of others' expectations. They don't see money. They only see the emotions attached to money. Financial awareness is about removing each of those lenses to see money clearly as it truly is. A neutral tool, neither good nor bad, only amplified in the direction you lead it. I once taught a group of young people, money doesn't make anyone greedy. It only magnifies someone who already is. Money doesn't make anyone kind. It only magnifies someone who already is. And that's always true. Financial awareness is asking, am I using money to serve me? Or am I using money to serve my emotions? I once met a woman who went shopping every time she felt sad, not because she loved things, but because she needed to feel soothed. But that relief only lasted a few hours, and in return came the guilt the next day. When she began to awaken, she told me, "Jim, it's not that I spend too much. It's that I never realized what emptiness inside I was spending to cover." And only when she realized that did her financial behavior truly change. Financial awareness is not rigid discipline. It is clarity. It's the ability to look at your wallet without trembling, the ability to spend without guilt, the ability to save without fear, the ability to invest without impatience. Awareness is when you stand in the middle of the marketplace where everything is trying to tempt you, yet you still clearly know what matters. What is just noise? What is an old reflex? What is a new choice? What is truly you? What is not you? Awareness is when you are fully yourself, so money no longer controls your mind. I remember a young man once told me, "Sir, I want more money to prove to my family that I'm successful." I looked at him and said, "You don't need money to prove that. You need peace to know you don't have to prove anything at all." When you're aware, money starts to feel lighter. When money feels lighter, you start using it in the right places. When you use it in the right places, you mature. And as you mature, your finances naturally become more sustainable. Financial awareness won't make you rich overnight, but it will keep you from becoming poorer through unconscious choices. And that matters far more. And once you are aware, you'll need one more crucial skill: consistency, the ability to maintain your pace even as life constantly changes. Principle 9, consistency, the power of slow but steady steps. When I was young, I had a terrible habit. Whenever I saw myself making a bit of progress, I relaxed. I would save well for 2 weeks, then spend double in the third. I invested with discipline for 1 month, then lost patience in the second and pulled out. I tried living simply for a few days, then went back to everything that drained my wallet. I didn't lack knowledge. I lacked stability. One evening, I met an older gardener. He took care of a plot so large that just looking at it made me tired. I asked, "How can you maintain such a big garden all by yourself?" He smiled gently and replied, "I don't maintain the whole garden every day, Jim. I just maintain 1 square meter at a time. Do a little, but do it every day. Do something small, but don't let any day be empty." I stood still, and that sentence changed me. We don't burn out because we do too much. We burn out because we do a lot, then nothing. Because we sprint, then collapse, then sprint again. Finances work exactly like that garden. If you tend it for a few days, then abandon it for weeks, then come back for a bit, then leave again, you will never have a harvest. I once met a young man with a pretty good income. He saved very well in the first month. In the second month, he spent nearly everything. In the third month, he tried to get back on track, but the pressure made him want to release stress, and all his discipline washed away. He told me, "Jim, it's not that I lack money, I lack consistency." And that is the truth for many people. You don't fail because of one bad decision. You fail because you don't stay consistent with your good decisions. Consistency is a very quiet, calm, and steady kind of strength. It's not as loud as motivation. It's not as dazzling as inspiration. It's not as flashy as sudden breakthroughs. But it's the only thing that takes you far. Picture yourself pushing a big wheel. On the first day, you use a lot of effort. On the second day, the wheel is still heavy. But by the third, fourth day, things begin to feel lighter. Not because the wheel has changed, but because momentum has appeared. Finances are the same. The small thing you do today creates momentum for tomorrow. Tomorrow builds momentum for next month. Next month builds momentum for the whole year. Consistency is the bridge between you and the future you want. I once told a group of young people, discipline helps you start, but consistency is what brings you to the finish line. Discipline is the day you say, "I'm going to change." Consistency is day 100, when you're still doing what you promised, even when no one is watching. Once, a woman told me, "Jim, I want to get rich a bit faster." I looked at her and replied, "You don't need to get rich fast. You need to get rich steadily. What comes quickly often leaves quickly. What comes from consistency usually stays." Consistency is not about forcing yourself. Consistency is about doing enough. Consistency is keeping the rhythm. Consistency is not letting emotions dictate all your actions. You don't need to save a lot every month. You just need to save regularly. You don't need to be a brilliant investor. You just need to invest continuously. You don't need to change your life in a week. You just need to improve 1% each day. When you're consistent, you build an identity. I'm someone who keeps promises to myself. And when that identity forms, your finances change in a natural way without strain, without struggle. I once told a student, change doesn't come from what you do occasionally. Change comes from what you do every day. And that is what saved his entire financial life. Consistency is the one thing everyone can do, but very few maintain. And that's why it becomes a superpower. When you can sustain what 95% of people quit halfway through, you are almost certain to reach places they never will. And when consistency is in place, the next thing you need is the ability to expand, to bring your good decisions into a more mature phase. Principle 10, expanding inner strength. Build a bigger self before building bigger assets. I once met a very ambitious young man. He told me, "Jim, I want to increase my income. I want to invest more. I want big assets." I looked at him and gently asked, "You want to expand your assets, but are you expanding yourself?" He went silent. And in that silence, I saw something many people struggle with. Everyone wants a bigger life, but very few want to become a bigger person. Many years ago, I thought wealth was the result of skills. Then I thought it came from opportunity. Then I realized a person with inner strength will create their own opportunities. Finally, I understood something deeper. Money only grows to the limit of your inner strength, no more. Like a glass. You can pour in more water, but if the glass is only 200 milliliters and you pour in 2 liters, it will still overflow. Many people are trying to pour more into their lives, but inside, they're not big enough to hold it. They want a big income, but lack management thinking. They want big investments, but lack the capacity to handle risk. They want big opportunities, but have a fragile inner world. They want big responsibilities, but unstable emotions. They're not wrong, they're just smaller than what they demand from life. One day, I met a woman standing between 2 choices: staying in her comfort zone with a stable income, or stepping into a bigger, more challenging opportunity. She asked me, "Which one do you think I should choose?" I smiled and asked back, "Have you expanded yourself enough to hold this growth?" The decision doesn't lie in the opportunity. It lies in the strength of your inner capacity. I want you to picture this. When a seed is still small, you can pull it out with just one hand. But when it becomes a big tree with deep roots, a firm trunk, and strong branches, you can't uproot it with bare hands anymore. Assets are the same. When you're still small on the inside, assets can leave you easily. But when you grow on the inside, assets stay because they have roots to cling to. I've lost money before, not because I was foolish, but because at that time I wasn't big enough to hold it. I was impatient. I was in a hurry. I was afraid of being slower than others. I wasn't calm enough to see far. I wasn't steady enough to stay disciplined. I didn't understand enough to tell real opportunities from illusions. When I grew on the inside, those mistakes disappeared. Not because I became cleverer, but because I became more mature. A financially mature person is not the one who earns the most. It's the one with enough inner strength to stand firm in failure, stay calm in volatility, be patient with opportunity, stay clear-headed in temptation, be steady under social pressure. Inner strength is the soil. Money is the tree. Weak soil, the tree falls. Strong soil, the tree thrives. There's a quote I love. You can't have a level 9 life with level 4 inner strength. And the beautiful thing is, inner strength is not something you're born with. It's something you build day by day. From every book you read, from every failure you overcome, from every emotion you learn to manage, from every time you choose patience over haste, from every right decision you repeat over the years. A student once asked me, "Teacher, when will I be ready to earn more money?" I replied, "When you're big enough to keep it." Money often comes before people are ready, but it only stays with those who've prepared enough inner strength to hold it. When you expand on the inside, life expands on the outside. No forcing, no straining, no comparing, no competing. You just need to be bigger than you were yesterday. And when you're big enough, opportunities will naturally find you so many that you'll have to choose. And once your inner strength has expanded, the next thing you need is sharpness, the ability to discern what matters from all the noise. Principle 11, sharpness, knowing how to choose what matters amid 1,000 distractions. One morning, I was walking with a friend along the beach. The waves were big, the wind was strong, and the fog was so thick we could barely see a few meters ahead. He pointed out to the distance and said, "Jim, the ocean is beautiful, but it's also really frightening. Everywhere I look, it's just haze." I smiled and replied, "Just like today's financial world, isn't it?" He laughed, then sighed. Exactly. Too much information, too many opinions, too many trends. I don't even know what's right, what's wrong, what fits me anymore. I looked at him for a long moment and said something many of my students later wrote down in their notebooks. You don't need to know more. You need to know less, but know it right. We're living in an era where everyone is trying to shout the loudest to be noticed. News dances around, videos poke at your curiosity, ads poke at your fears. Everyone insists they're right. Everyone tells you to do what they say. Everyone claims they have the faster, shorter, easier way. And you're pulled left, then right. Today one thing, tomorrow another. This trend, then that trend. Not because you're weak, but because you have no compass in a world with too many lights. I once told my students, Nothing kills your finances faster than distraction. The more distracted you are, the more your decisions are driven by fleeting emotions. The more distracted you are, the more rushed you become. The more distracted you are, the more you fear missing out. And when you're afraid of missing out, you usually miss the most important thing, your own path. I once knew a young man who chased one trend after another, a new method every month, a new piece of advice every week, a new smarter person to follow every day. After a year, he hadn't moved forward at all. He told me, "Jim, it feels like I'm walking a lot, but not getting far." That's right, because he was following the noise, not a compass. The financial market today is like a huge bazaar. Everyone is talking, everyone is pitching, everyone has a secret. But freedom doesn't come from listening to everything. Freedom comes from knowing how to filter. Imagine you're standing in a crowd and everyone is handing you a different map. If you hold on to all of them, you won't get anywhere. But if you keep just one correct map, you'll move very fast. I remember an image I often share in my talks. Sharpness is like a flashlight in the dark. It doesn't show you everything, but it shows you what you need to see to keep going. Financial sharpness is not about understanding everything. It's the ability to ignore 90% of what's irrelevant, say no to opportunities that don't fit, not chase get-rich-quick schemes, know what's signal and what's noise, know what suits you and what doesn't. Here's something interesting. The wealthy are not the best at everything. They're just the least distracted. One day, a young woman asked me, "How do I tell the difference between real opportunities and illusions?" I answered, "A real opportunity gives you a feeling of peace. An illusion gives you a feeling of rush." See, wealth isn't a speed game. It's a game of vision and selectiveness. When you're sharp, you start letting go of the things that once exhausted you. Letting go of the habit of comparison. Letting go of the need to prove yourself. Letting go of chasing others. Letting go of the "if I don't follow, I'll miss out" mindset. Letting go of paths that aren't yours. And that's when you begin to live as someone truly mature with money. A mature person doesn't ask, "How many opportunities are there?" They ask, "Among all these opportunities, what fits my direction best?" Sharpness makes you stronger not because you know more, but because you know what to drop. One of the greatest lessons I've learned is this. I became wealthier not because of what I chose, but because of what I dared to let go of. Letting go of excess expectations, letting go of wrong beliefs, letting go of old fears, letting go of advice that isn't for you, letting go of impatience. Because when you let go of the right things, you make room for the right things to come. And when you're sharp, when you clearly see what matters, the final thing you need is the ability to become, to bring all 11 principles together into a new version of yourself. Principle 12, becoming the version that money naturally seeks. I once met a young man with bright, curious, determined eyes. He asked me, "Jim, how can I become wealthy?" I smiled and said, "That's not the right question, son." He frowned. "Then what should I ask?" I replied, "You should ask, how can I become the kind of person that wealth wants to stay with?" He went silent, and then a small smile appeared on his face as if something had just clicked. Many people in this life chase money, but they forget that money doesn't follow those who chase it. Money follows those who are worthy of it. For many years, I thought wealth was a destination, a number, a date, a financial goal. But then I noticed something strange. Some people earn a lot, then lose it. Some people win the lottery, then end up poorer than before. Some people succeed in business once, then never repeat it. Some people earn little, but remain steady, keep growing, and stay solid. I started to realize money doesn't define you. You define money. Money doesn't make you smarter. It magnifies the intelligence you already have. Money doesn't make you more disciplined. It magnifies the lack of discipline you already carry. Money doesn't make you happy. It magnifies the emotions already inside you. Wealth isn't magic. Wealth is your upgraded self. I want you to picture this. A tree only bears fruit when it has enough age, enough roots, enough trunk, enough strength. If you pull on its branches and force it to bear fruit early, you'll kill the tree. But if you focus on nurturing the roots, the fruit will come in its season. Money is the fruit. You are the tree. When you nurture yourself properly, the fruit arrives naturally. A man once told me, "Jim, I want to make money quickly so I can change my life." I looked at him and gently replied, "No one changes their life by speed. They change it by inner transformation." What is inner transformation? It's the day you realize you don't have to prove anything to anyone anymore. It's the day you understand you are good enough to hold money and smart enough to use it well. It's the day you know how to say no to what weakens you. It's the day you are calm enough not to follow the crowd. It's the day you are grateful for the small things and trust in the big ones. It's the day you stand firm, not leaning on praise or criticism, not leaning on anyone's gaze. I remember one evening standing alone in my backyard. It was cold, the wind was strong, but the sky was full of stars. I looked up and thought, my life changed, not because money came, but because I changed first. I no longer spent to fill my fears. I no longer earned just to seek validation. I no longer jumped at every opportunity out of fear of missing out. I no longer used money to treat emotions. I began to become someone who could lead money, not someone led by it. And then I realized the most important thing I want to give you today: wealth is not the goal. Wealth is the outcome of a more mature version of you. A version that knows who they are, knows what they want, knows what they're running for, knows what no longer fits, knows what is worth keeping, knows what must be released, knows what real value is. When you become that version, money will find its way to you like water flowing to low ground, like birds finding their nest, like light finding where there is no shadow. A student once asked me, "How do I know I've become the version that money wants to stay with?" I gently replied, "When you no longer chase money, and it still comes. When your inner strength, self-respect, awareness, consistency, and sharpness all come together, you no longer have to chase life. You begin to attract it. And that is the highest form of freedom, not how much you have, but who you become when you have it. When we finish a journey, we often think we've gone far, but in truth, what matters more is how deep we've gone. 12 principles are not 12 steps to becoming wealthy. They are 12 doors leading you back to yourself. Because money in the end is not a race. It is a journey of growth. It is a conversation between your today and your tomorrow. It is how you face fear, heal memories, expand inner strength, and walk slowly but surely on your own path. If you feel that your life is still heavy, if at times you feel you're trying so hard but your results barely change, remember this: change doesn't come from big leaps. Change comes from small adjustments in your mind repeated long enough. Money is just a tool. You are the craftsman. Life doesn't reward you for being perfect. It rewards you for patiently becoming better each day. And if at any moment you feel you're moving slowly, remind yourself, no one sees the roots growing underground. But when the roots are deep enough, the canopy will be wide enough. You are growing in ways others cannot see. And that is the most beautiful thing of all. Thank you for taking the time to walk this journey with me. If this video touched you at some point, even in just one sentence, leave a small below. It lets me know you're still on your own path of growth. If you want to continue deeper journeys into the life lessons Jim Rohn left behind, hit like and subscribe so we can meet again in the next videos. And I want to leave you with a small question before I go. Tomorrow, which version of yourself will you choose to become? Change your life by just 1% each day, and your whole direction will shift. Finally, let me leave you with the quote that changed my life. Success is not something you pursue, it is something you attract by the person you become. Jim Rohn.